I'm Chief Meteorologist Mark Weinberg. He is Rick DeLuca. We were kind of thinking in the Weather Center tonight, do we want to do a video? Number one, the obvious elephant in the room is I sound like a frog.
Rabbit.
So we wanted to decide if we wanted to do a Barry White
That was good.
weather video tonight. I could do the
That
Arby's
was-
guy. We got the meat.
You got a new side gig. We have the meat. That was good.
So if this whole weather thing doesn't work out, I could be doing some voice work, maybe as
Nice.
Barry White or Arby's.
So my high-pitched
We've
voice
got
will
the
be offset. We got all the octaves here now.
But we, we thought about it, and we're like, you know what, Mother Nature doesn't stop. We've got to do this. So we have a
Agreed.
chance of severe weather tomorrow. The scenario has a warm front. These can be a little bit more dangerous in our area. So in the end of this, we decided, you know what, let's do the video. If I have to, because of my voice, step away for a minute, I will. Think we're okay for now. So number one, for those jumping in, we appreciate you guys in here. If you're joining us on any of our Facebooks, you can share the video. Sharing's a way that we can help get the video out to more people. We cover our area, Rick, obviously Indiana and Kentucky, but around our region, I mean, this Terre Haute, we've got to be careful. Indianapolis. And if you have friends or family in those areas that may be interested, they can jump in on the video. So sharing allows them to know that what we're doing.
Right. It just takes the information, puts it out there, and allows others to maybe be aware, because sometimes social media, you don't see what you need. It's most of the stuff you don't need. Probably if you like shopping, then there are ads all over the place. But this is a good opportunity to get valuable information when it comes to severe weather. And this isn't something that we're discussing that stays away. This is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So now is the time to kind of be as prepared as you can be, because before you go out tomorrow, let's say your kid's, getting out of school, they have practice later on. This is the kind of information that you need to know.
So,
right?
yes.
Okay.
So by sharing the video, you're going to help us to reach as many people as we can. Tomorrow's an interesting day. I said this a couple days ago. I'll say it again. Terre Haute to Indy, I think there's going to be some tornadoes. I think there could be a strong tornado there.
The supercells just light up during the afternoon, depending on which model you believe. But I do think we're going to see these pop up. And where those storms go, they're going to link up with that warm front.
Yep.
And that's going to be a problem, because they will be spinners.
And I think that area from Terre Haute, Indy, Effingham, Illinois is going to be in that area where I know we can hook. There's obvious questions in our area on how far south those initial storms form. And another thing as we go through this, you're going to see that the wind energy is ramping up during this event. So what we get in the afternoon tomorrow may not be able to tap into that full energy. So there's moving parts that make this complicated.
Yeah, and the fact that since yesterday, when Bryce and we spoke here, we spoke about fuel not being very sufficient.
Right.
That's changed since yesterday, where we're seeing a little more fuel enter the equation. And this is during the afternoon when, storms can be the strongest, because they have basically peak heating to work with. So this is something that is definitely worth monitoring in the data. And we have new information that will be coming in before the newscast tonight, which we're looking at all the time. It basically does not stop when it comes to these sort of situations.
If it's me, I think that Terre Haute to Indy line, I don't think that a slight's adequate. I think they're going to need to upgrade it, and I think they're going to need a higher tornado probability, and I think they're going to need to hatch it, because as I said, just my 2 cents, I do believe a strong tornado can occur there. So as we go into the video here, let's remind you of what we call the severe weather equation. This is something that we look at for ingredients. What do we look at to generate severe? Rick alluded to this just a moment ago, but fuel is instability. We generate that with warmth and high dew points. 2 days ago, data showed dew points maybe in the upper 50s. Now it's showing it easily in the upper 50s and some low 60s.
Yes.
So while we're not talking about monumental instability values, we're now talking about maybe 1,000 plus in some parts of our area, and that is more problematic.
Coupled with the wind energy, that is definitely more problematic. Because usually what happens in winter is we always have the wind energy, but we just can't get the high dew points plus the warmth. We do in some, instances, but usually it's a process to get all of those ingredients coming together at the right time. Now, dew points, once we get above 60, and the closer we get to 65, the more concerned we are. Right now, it's showing around 60 to 62 in some areas. So that is just on the cusp of high enough that the fuel will be there, the wind energy is going to be there, and we have 2 waves of storms to talk about. And each one poses a different threat, or at least a higher threat compared to the other. But
Yeah.
that warm front during the afternoon, that's what we need to start with, obviously.
So Rick, we talked about fuel, we talked about wind energy. If high dew points and warm temperatures is fuel, you still have to have the engine, and the wind energy is that engine. So when we talk about wind energy, there's two types. Winds increase as we go up in the atmosphere. We call it unidirectional or speed shear. The winds just get stronger as you go upward. Speed shear is highly effective at generating things like damaging winds. Sometimes it can generate some hail. When the winds change direction with height, we call this directional wind shear. Directional wind shear is the more dangerous. Why? You can impart rotation to thunderstorms. A rotating thunderstorm now has an enhanced ability to produce hail to large hail, and it has the ability to produce, unfortunately, tornadoes. Which do we have tomorrow? The afternoon we have directional, at night we have the speed shear. So different at different times, and something to fire. While this may seem small, like an obvious one, you can't get thunderstorms without thunderstorms, so you can't get severe. The forcing in the afternoon tomorrow, warm fronts are diffuse. They don't really just blast the air up like a cold front. And on top of that, we're really not in the most favorable zone of the jet, which may actually help to protect some of our area a little bit.
Right. And that was a key that we picked up earlier this week. We were watching the most favorable spots of the jet, but also noted that on the weaker sides, the subsidence that could form over our area may actually be a good inhibiting factor when it comes to severe potential, meaning where we have all that rising air, that's where we're more likely to see those strong to severe storms. The opposite from rising is sinking, and sinking air would definitely deter some of the storm development, but not all. And that's kind of the bottom line when it comes to storms tomorrow. While there's an opportunity, we're not giving you a 100% guarantee that we're going to see storms tomorrow. There's going to be
60.
It's a 60. There's going to be a lot of spots that miss out, especially the farther south you live. So this is something that I don't want you to assume is that we have a risk. That means storms are 100% going to happen at your house tomorrow. That may not be the case here, Mark.
So we'll start to go into this. Storms Prediction Center put this out on day 4. We agreed that it was adequate and necessary. Now, they did include Southern Kentucky at the time. This at day 4, you had to put it out.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. It needed to be drifted north. It now goes from just south of Hardinsburg through around E-Town through around Frankfort. Does it belong in this area? Yeah. But as I noted, you know, I do think there very much is room for something higher that goes from Effingham, Illinois, maybe just barely north of our area, where I think this could require an enhanced, and I think it requires a greater tornado probability. And I think even a strong tornado could occur there. But, you know, Louisville is squarely included. And should it be in the slight? Yeah. Should we be included in a higher? No, I don't think so.
But you're just basically, it's very important to say the parameters where we are in Louisville aren't the same in those areas that you just highlighted. And that's probably an important message that you should take home, that we don't have the same ingredients up there. And that's why we're saying there it's more likely that we could see a strong tornado.
So in Louisville, we're 61 with a dew point of 55. And Rick and I talked about this a couple days ago. It didn't show dew points this high. So these numbers have come up to 54 in Elizabethtown, Corydon right now, temperature 55, dew point 50. And we'll close it out with a look in Seymour. So this is our most north camera, 61, dew point 51. So Rick, when we start to assess warmth, hit 70 today, we can do the same tomorrow. I don't think we're lacking in the temperature department, and that dew point surge is real.
It's getting closer.
Springfield's already at 59, and we've got near 60-degree dew points in southern Kentucky. So the data's saying we're going to get near 60-degree dew points, and it's not wrong.
No, and what has me a little concerned tomorrow would be the fact that we could also add some sunshine into this equation. It's been consistent for days, showing that we get some breaks after midday where, you know, the sun pokes its head out, and that will help aid in the instability by giving us some warmth. We have a high forecast running with 71 tomorrow. So yeah, it could be maybe a degree or two warmer than that if we get a little more sunshine than anticipated. But it's going to be warm, and you might even notice it feels a touch humid out there, and it's fishy in February when you feel humidity. That should tell you that something's up in the atmosphere.
And let me just say that in my Barry White voice, it's going to be a little humid tomorrow.
Nice.
So around the region,
you're getting people saying that your voice sounds sexy.
Here's the thing: you and I work together all the time. Like, I'm walking around doing my business like nothing's even going on, right?
I know, yeah,
mean, you work with me. I'm like literally, I'm doing my job like normal.
You keep saying I don't feel sick at all.
I'm not like sneezing or coughing like crazy. I mean, nothing's happening. I just sound like
very
Arby's.
Maybe this is the new mark. Maybe this is.
But it's I don't even know what the deal is. I woke up on Saturday. I think my mouth was open when I was sleeping. It was a little bit raspy. We kind of agree that I probably have like a little cough, something like that. But it's so minor. I don't. A lot of people said, Mark, I hope you're feeling better, and I hope you feel better. First, thank you for the kind words. But I feel fine.
Yeah.
I just don't sound it.
You don't sound like Mark Weinberg, that's for sure.
So 58 in Nashville and the dew points, and these numbers are coming up. So this creates a scenario that is somewhat interesting. You know, what I find most interesting is we use the term bimodal sometimes, Rick. So this concept of bimodal means that you could have it in two areas or you can have it at two times. And I think that in this scenario, what we're talking about tomorrow is there is two waves that we would need to watch. So something that goes in the afternoon, the wind energy is going to be slowly coming up. What comes through in the evening has more than enough wind energy. In fact, it's got a ton, but it may not have any fuel. So this is not like spring where everything is just slam dunking at the same time.
True.
We have things that are coming in at different times, which may limit both of these somewhat to an extent.
Yeah, they're conflicting in certain aspects. And we also want to let you know that this is going to be a wave in the afternoon for some. And if I had to say the better chance for seeing some scattered storms, it would most likely be along that cold front.
Yeah.
And that's not going to come through until sometime between 10 p.m. and around 2 o'clock in the morning, which means you may get one and you may get another, but the threats change. The first one, isolated tornado, the second one, more of a damaging wind threat, which means with each front, there's more of a higher risk when it comes to tornadoes. Because I know once we say tornado, Mark,
I know
it's a word that when I say it, you have to mean it.
I know you feel
there's a lot of emotions. Yeah, it makes people uneasy.
Makes us uneasy.
It does. The anxiety starts, and we try to use different terms like spin up or
I know. Split hairs over that.
Just trying to so you don't really go overboard when it comes to explaining this. But truth is, there could be some tornadoes tomorrow. So we say this. I would say our northwestern counties probably have the best shot, but if you live farther south across Kentucky, your chance is lower. It does not look the same across the board. Couldn't
agree more on that statement. So the storm system itself is the one that we're looking at in the western part of the U.S. This is going to overspread favorable winds across our area. So let's start with what happens in the afternoon. So when is window open time? I'm going to say around 2.
Mm-hmm.
The questions in this window open time are complicated because we don't know exactly how far south those storms are going to form. But I just want to show you, this is 3 p.m. tomorrow. The winds out of the surface are out of the south. So, Rick, these turn a lot in the lower part of the atmosphere. But the intensity of the wind is not high.
Right.
So this is somewhat interesting. When you go towards 10, look at how much stronger those winds are. And you're like, oh, no. We're going to see 55-mile-an-hour winds in Louisville. No, if you look at the top there, it says 850 millibars. And you're like, English, buddy, mile above the ground. So why do we look at this? Why do we care? I mean, you're here. You're living at the ground. You want to know the winds at the ground, right? But we need to know what the storms can work with. If you give them a lot of wind energy, they can generate a lot of winds. So what we know is that the afternoon doesn't have a ton of wind energy volume-wise, but it's changing direction as we go upward in the atmosphere. And then conversely, as we go towards the evening, the entire column has a ton of wind energy, but it doesn't change much direction.
Right, and the instability started to come down. Yeah. Warm fronts, I like to say, break rules sometimes, because if we didn't have that warm front, we wouldn't be having this discussion, because those two don't really match up all that much. But the fact that we have warm fronts, they can sometimes enhance and just spin these storms like a top. And it's one of those things that you learn from forecasting here year after year after year in the Ohio Valley. Anytime we see a warm front, for us, it's like a red flag goes off. We know that it needs to be watched, because sometimes it does things. I remember we've been here so many nights late, And I mean, how many times have we had tornado warnings up in like Jackson County where warm front's hanging out?
Or, I mean, you've seen this here too. Tropical systems produce so much easterly wind on the northern side. I say this, you guys have heard me say it a million times. You got to be really careful as these things approach. We always get a tornado warning, and we almost always do.
It's crazy, but and history always repeats itself. So this is why, because of this warm front, we are definitely paying way more attention to what happens and unfolds Thursday afternoon. Thursday night, it's not so much tornado, it's more of a wind threat. And thank goodness that we don't have those two ingredients matched up. That's something we would not want. It's still winter technically. Hopefully this can be an exercise, and you can use it as a point for you and your family to know, okay, if spring's around the corner, this certainly won't be the first or the last time that you're going to have to deal with the tornado warning. So it's a good idea to practice.
And so we think that it's possible we get a tornado warning tomorrow. I think that it's possible we don't, but Rick's point's valid. I mean, we're going to get them this spring. I've never worked here a single season where we haven't. So when we start to look at fuel values, these don't go absolutely wild on this particular model at 2. I will tell you that there's data at this time that shows 1,000. So there's definitely different values. These are peaking in the afternoon and evening, and I think that's a big deal. These numbers are then coming down as the wind energy is coming up tomorrow night. So let's say that one more time. The wind energy is cranking, the fuel energy is going down. So we have these scenarios here where you have different kind of risks, different kind of threats. Because the wind magnitude is not large in the afternoon, it means that we're really relying on whether a storm can hook on that front. Because if you're just talking magnitude of wind, those storms are probably not going to be severe in most areas. The ones that get near the front can enhance rotation, and they will go severe. They will tornado, and they can hail. And so we know that anything that hooks on the warm front in the afternoon has a tornado threat. And then what comes through on the cold front at night would be more of a damaging wind threat.
Right. Can't rule out a brief spin up, but that's
certainly
a brief spin up's more of the quick one that happens a scan or two and it's gone.
So from here, I think it's worth kind of then looking at the data. So what we're going to start by looking at, and we always like to do this is, and let me make this a little smaller just so you can see it a little bit bigger. Rick, when we're looking at 7 a.m., if somebody is worrying about going out to school tomorrow morning, kids going to school, parents are like, I'm heading to work, am I going to be dealing with severe or tornado at 7 a.m. on the drive to work, or kids going to school?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that at all. There's a warm front which will be advancing into our area. Temperatures around the board hanging out in the upper 50s. It's cool, too cool for severe. There are some showers out there, and I mean, there are a couple. The better chance would be on the Kentucky side of the river, initially, closer to that front. And then around midday, we also see some showers around the Louisville area. But it's as these get going and develop during the afternoon, that's when we start to see those pop up. Like I said, there's not going to be rain everywhere. You kind of see how broken the line is along that warm front. And then as it lifts north, that's when storms start to mature. They get a little bit stronger. But I want your eyes to go to the top left portion of that screen. And the arrow shows it.
And that's what's different. And this has shown up over and over and over, that what's closer to the low that goes through Effingham, Illinois, and then into Terre Haute, and then ultimately into Indy, being closer to low is going to have more backed winds, meaning more easterly flow, more rotational potential, and it's a greater concern. What we're seeing near Louisville is storms trying to fire in this. But I think we would both agree, Rick, it does appear that something is holding them back.
Maybe more than one thing.
I think it is. I think it's what we talked about. I think you're in the wrong portion of the jet stream. And I think it's trying to shove those storms down. And you can see that when you go up towards Indy, these storms have hooks on them. That means the storm is rotating.
Supercells. There's also that little cap. There's a little warm bubble aloft, which is like a lid on the atmosphere, and that may also be a preventing factor when it comes to how many storms, if any, that we start to see developing tomorrow afternoon.
So this also then brings up a point. Yes, we mentioned Indy, but the further north you get, the higher the tornado threat, which means in our viewing area, Jackson, Jennings, Lawrence. North Vernon, Bedford, Seymour. These areas are going to be close.
Yes.
And in this afternoon wave, we need to watch that. If these just get, let's say the front's a little further south or a little bit further north, these things are a big deal. But you can see that strongest storm that goes through near Bloomington, it is hooked onto that front.
Right. It even shows a little, I mean, not that it's going to get this correctly on location, but it shows a little hail core, which is exactly what would happen in this sort of scenario.
So then we move into the evening, and now we see a weakened line. It makes sense. The wind energy is crazy, but there's not a lot of fuel.
No.
So it would be like this. Let's just say we have a 5-year-old. We say, hey, we want you to stand outside. 20-mile-an-hour winds. The kid may kind of stand out there and maybe get moved around a little bit. Now, let's say you put a 60-mile-an-hour wind and you ask the 5-year-old to stand up in the wind. The 5-year-old's probably going to get blown over because the wind is too strong. Why does that analogy work? We don't have a lot of fuel or power. This isn't Rick DeLuca or me standing against a 60-mile-an-hour wind. This is weaker fuel in the evening and overnight. And when you look at the intensity there, it's that 5-year-old trying to stand up against these powerful winds, and they're not doing it.
I just feel like it's a bad parent if you're putting your 5-year-old.
I don't have a 5-year-old, so and I know that 5's older than me, so that's why I said that.
I think you might get your child taken away if you're, hey, stand outside.
Look, but you get the point.
I get the point.
The storms are going to have some difficulty standing up to the power of the wind energy tomorrow night.
They go up and they get knocked down, and that is, we see that quite a bit, especially in winter months.
High shear, low cape is what it is tomorrow night.
Yeah, and that's why the cold front has different threats than the warm front, obviously. And the winds don't turn as much when it comes to these fronts.
Agreed.
They tend to veer out pretty quickly, and even before the front arrives can go westerly. But we'll watch both of these fronts. It's not like you're going to be staying up all night either. I know sometimes when you talk about severe weather at night, you're like, am I going to be up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and losing sleep? This should be out of here by 1, maybe 2 o'clock at the latest, which I know is still maybe past most people's bedtime.
Sure.
But at least you're not going to be up till 5, 4 o'clock in the morning watching these storms. So it'll be a quick mover.
We will be.
Well, you will, yeah.
So, but let's go through this one more time, Rick. I'm going to let you walk through this one last time, and let's point out some of these critical time frames. So you can see go time is near 2. So this is when, if we're to start to get action, 2 o'clock would be when I would worry. Now, what areas? I would say near and north of the river. If you're asking me to be more specific, I would say Jackson, Jennings, Lawrence. For our viewing area, if you're saying, Mark, I want you to be more specific, I'm going to tell you Indy to Terre Haute to Effingham, Illinois. I'm going to tell you that I think there's going to be some tornadoes. Mark my words on this one. There will be. Number 2, mark my words on this too. These storms will have crazy structure. So there'll probably be some chasers out there, and they're going to see like rock hard detail out of these storms. You'll see pinwheeling updrafts. We call it striated. You'll see wall clouds hanging down. These will be very pretty storms because it's not a high dew point scenario. These are what we call classic or low precipitation supercells, and those are going to be riding along that 70 corridor. There is some question in that 3 o'clock neighborhood. Can these storms that are ahead of that warm front be as severe, or is it what's closer to the low? This run of advanced track says what's closer to the low is going to be the play. So this initial wave, 2 through around 6. So that's wave number 1, Rick. Wave number 2, 10-ish.
10-ish opens, yeah, especially west of I-65. I would say in Louisville, it's a range right now, 11 midnight, give or take a little bit. That's when that front gets here. And it's not a completely filled in front. It's a line of gusty downpours. Damaging winds a possibility with inside some of these strongest storms. Can't say there won't be a weak spin up, but that's all of it would be, is a weak spin up. It lasts a couple minutes and then it goes away, drops down, goes away. That's if we even get one of those. Damaging winds the main threat overnight. Hopefully that can allow you to sleep a little bit better. And then we cool things down. So once that happens, Mark, we take away the severe weather potential.
Yeah, there's nothing else outside of this. In the next week. So
Nothing.
it's going to be quieter. You know, it's a good reminder of what to do during severe to kind of get
Absolutely.
yourself acclimated to what is going to be, you know, storm season starting in Kentuckiana. So let's go through this. I'm going to let you handle the damaging wind threat. Rick, the Storms Prediction Center literally blankets the slight with a 15, and that is the reason, the 15% for winds for Louisville. That's the highest probability.
Right. So that you're talking about areas of Mount Washington. You go to Louisville, Shelbyville, from Hardinsburg, Paoli, and anywhere north, which includes Madison, Seymour, Bedford, Scottsburg, Charlestown, New Albany, LaGrange. That is the 15%. Like the theme we've been discussing. North, you encounter the greater potential for severe weather. South, not as much. The brownish color, which includes E-Town, Bardstown, Campbellsville, Litchfield, Munfordville, Greensburg, Columbia, that's a 5% risk. It is 10% less than areas off to our north. And that is just when it comes to damaging winds, which would be gusts in excess of 58 miles per hour. And here's my argument is that we don't really have that really good wind energy until later on. So it's you know, it's really, and we have sufficient wind energy to produce severe storms, but the question is, do we have enough instability left at that point in time? So really, the wind threat is there. It's not, you know, off the charts or anything, but it's certainly noteworthy. And thankfully, we still don't have any leaves on the trees, so we're not going to have the extra friction of that. But, you know, could you snap some tree limbs? Sure.
Sure.
We usually, anytime we have storms in Louisville, there's some tree that comes down in some way, shape, or form.
So we talked about this 2 time frame, the 2 p.m. through about 6 p.m. Louisville's probably not going to get severe in that time. If Louisville sees severe, you know, let's say anywhere from 10 p.m. through around 1 a.m.
That's along the cold front.
And then when we get into the second part of this is the tornado risk. So I'm going to go through this one here. The Storms Prediction Center has a 2% probability all the way to the far southern part of our area. Necessary? I don't have a problem with it. 2% is not a high probability. They've got the 5% going from around Eminence, Newcastle, through the, let's say, extreme northern part of Shelby County. That comes into Louisville near around the Middletown area. That goes out of Louisville near West Point. So we're talking, you know, Shively, PRP, comes out through the Brandenburg area and then goes north as the 5%. Is that adequately and appropriately placed? My argument would be no. If I'm drawing this 5%, I'm drawing it probably through, I'm going to say just north of Madison. I'm going to take it through around Salem and then through Paoli. And if it's me, I am going to put a 10%, and I'm going to run that through Effingham, Illinois, through around Bloomington, and then I'm going to include the Indy area. So these areas where I have highlighted on the top there, I believe have a chance, A, of a higher probability of a tornado, and then B, I would say that a strong tornado actually could occur in this area. So this kind of then explains where we stand. Somebody did ask a question, and before we go into the full Q&A, they just asked if we can go kind of hour by hour on advanced track.
Okay.
And since this is a video, why not? So I'm going to go hour by hour. So this is 2 p.m. What we want to draw your attention to is what's going on in Illinois. By 3 p.m. and 4 p.m., that area is stronger, but it is very close to our northern row of counties, Jackson, Jennings, Lawrence. That's why we're a little more concerned for you. When we look at the high-res data in Louisville, it doesn't show as much of a rotate potential. It does have fuel, so anything that fires its Renegade could generate some hail. And look, we'll say the chance of a tornado is certainly there, but it's better as you go further north. 5 p.m., let me make sure I stop here. I promised I wouldn't roll too far. 5 p.m., these are pretty close to our entire row of northern counties.
Right.
So these are times that you want to watch in the far north. And you can see it does get into our northern counties. And you can definitely see this is along the warm front because it's 58 in Seymour and 65, yes.
And then you can see those storms are going through Clark County. So that they are very close to Louisville on this particular run.
And that's when the wind is starting to crank up a little bit,
right.
So it's of interest.
It's very much of interest. So this is why, you know, the hour by hour is kind of good. And we still have ongoing storms that show up before those start to pull away around 7. And then what you see off to the west is that cold front
Oops,
which starts to fire up.
Sorry
So here we are. So there's that little break between the warm front, cold front. There's going to be some time where things kind of quiet down.
So you can see at 10, our atmosphere just doesn't have the same fuel. What's interesting is the wind field is somewhat chaotic too. You can see some southeast, some southwest.
Yeah.
Then we'll roll this into 11 o'clock. And this is really the line for Louisville. And I know some are going to say, really? That's it? And I would say, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's factual. Then as we go towards midnight, you can see the line is now east of Louisville. 1 a.m. The line is from around Frankfort through Springfield, through Campbellsville and Greensburg. And then let me close this out. Again, just trying to roll it to 2. It's pulling away from our area. So what we wanted to do is, number one, see if my voice could hold up through the video, and it actually did.
Yeah,
Just kind of surprised.
Well done.
And the most important thing is we wanted to talk about these 2 waves. I do think that if you're asking me when to watch, I know Louisville's chance really isn't better until probably about 11, but I am a little bit worried about our northern counties in mid-afternoon tomorrow. There is adequate fuel. There is, while not hellacious wind energy, it changes a lot of direction as you go upward in the atmosphere. There's a warm front in the area, and this can and does produce severe weather, and it can and does produce tornadoes at times.
And we've seen it hasn't really backed off from that scenario in certain models, and it's been showing it for a couple of days now, which to have high-resolution models show that time and time again is a little more telling. It just gives you a little bit more of a confidence boost when it comes to the fact that this may, and could very well materialize. So
it doesn't look like a high threat for Louisville.
No, and I think that's something we want to make clear. Louisville's on the lower end of this threat. Yeah. It is way higher northwestern portions of our area. But Louisville, is it worth watching? Absolutely. If you have any plans late tomorrow, the window opens at 2 and it closes around 8 or so. And if you have something going on during that time, you can go ahead, and it's a shameless plug, but download the WDRB weather app. First off, it's free. The price is right.
That's not shameless.
No,
I mean, it's helpful. That's what we're trying to do.
That's the thing. It's you can get information. We do have also updates on there. We have little videos you can play. Yeah. So you open it up, play it, and you get basically a quick little 30, 60-second update as to what's happening, what you need to know going through the evening hours. And also, there's so many ways that we can reach out. We have this avenue. Yeah, which we are super excited about.
And we'll utilize it as much as we can. If this is occurring in newscasts tomorrow, obviously you would want to go into newscasts, and you'll be able to get that information. Our staffing tomorrow is a little bit different, so newscasts will be valuable. We'll try to do videos if and when time allows. So this is kind of where we stand. From here, we want to go into the Q&A. Number one, if you appreciate the Facebook Lives, thumbs up across the screen, hearts across the screen, share the video. Remember, some people are just like, Mark, get to the point, or you can do that. So when you share the video, we post this in full after. You can drag the timeline to wherever you want. You can see whatever part of the video you want. You may want the long form, you may not. You can choose that. And then lastly, let's open it up to Q&A. We'll see how long my voice will hold up. I got to make sure I protect it some, because I may talk a little bit extra tomorrow, and I still have some work to do tonight.
Ooh, excuse
me. Did you just
yawn?
I think
I just did. Excuse me.
Out of nowhere, man.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what
happened. My.
I think it's very hot in here, and it's making me sleepy.
You want me to grab you a pillow, buddy?
No, I'm good. Listen, you have maybe I think the Barry White is just very soothing.
What are you talking about, man?
My blood pressure's gone down, and just almost fell asleep there.
You even tried to hide it.
Well, I did. I forgot where I was. Okay.
All right. So other than Rick DeLuca yawning in the middle of us talking about severe weather, let's open it up to some Q&A here. Voice is still holding up strong, so I think we'll have some time here. So I'm going to answer this one, Rick. This is coming in from Patty. She's saying, what about Shively? So Shively, there is a small window around 2 tomorrow. I'm not going to say that you can't get severe out of that, but I would think that your chance is best 10 through midnight tomorrow. Damaging winds will be the primary threat. If that afternoon wave, let's say, got a little further south, let's just say, some things change. The afternoon wave is 2 through around 6. So these are the windows that we would be watching.
Yeah. Another
Somebody
question.
said I like baritone Mark, by the way.
That is hilarious. Sandy, good one. Love that. Haley's curious about the Hardinsburg area.
Hold on one second. We have a disruptor in here. I just want to mention John's calling me names in my own videos. So John Brown, I'm going ahead and block you forever from my Facebook page because you decided to come in on a video where we're trying to help people, where there's potential for tornadoes, and you decided to come in and call us names. So John will never be joining us on a Facebook Live again. All I would just say is quickly on this one, you know, Rick, you can speak to this. We spent a lot of time working on this stuff. And I assume you're here because maybe your family you're worried about, maybe it's you, maybe you just want to get that information. I mean, don't come in and call people names and take away their right to getting information. And ultimately, you're hurting yourself. I mean, this person may need information in the future, but because he decided to come in and start calling people into names, he's out. So I say that because we do police this. In a sense, and what I mean by that is we don't want disruptors in here. We want people that are legitimately seeking weather information. So back to that one, Rick.
See you, John.
Deuces.
Okay. Jessica asking, do you think flights to Indy could get canceled tomorrow? I'm supposed to fly in around 9 p.m. Okay, so that later time frame, you know, it's a possibility. I'm trying to think.
It's so hard to say.
If you had widespread damaging winds, it's a little easier. If you had storms that were going to congeal and form into a line, then it would be a lot easier to say if there's going to be delays, disruptions, or even cancellations. But since we're talking tornado potential during that time frame and it's isolated, it's hard to really say if there's going to be any sort of disruption. So I hope you don't have one. I can't really say with certainty that.
Yeah, it's tough. If there was, let's say, a tornado around Indy, it could spiral. And even if there was no delays at 9, there could be delays that get pushed back. I mean, the interconnection of all of this stuff is crazy.
And the fact that, you know, these storms, planes can go around them pretty easily. So it's not like they're confined to, you know, only flying out a certain time to get away from a line of storms. This is something that they can avoid. You know, these pilots are good at what they do.
Let me bring up this one point here. So Jonelle Wagner said, "You guys are funny." Rick's yawning and Mark with the weird voice sounding. So
we're extra today.
This lives. Your yawn there is going. People are going to go.
It wasn't really a yawn. It was
it was completely a yawn.
I don't know. Maybe
that was one of those. No, you started to yawn and then you realized you were doing a video and then you tried to figure out. You realized you were yawning, and then you're like, "What do I do to try to hide this now?" And it was already too far into it.
I didn't do a good job.
So I don't know what happened there, but it definitely did. Thank you for answering. Somebody's coming in from Denver and kind of nervous. We get that. So yeah, understand delays are a complicated one. It is a sprawling storm that affects many states. Not an elite event, not one of those monster snowmakers. So the area where they're severe is going to be kind of a quick punch and then move on. So there's definitely potential for some trickle down.
I got a question too. Just this one was a couple ones back, but someone asked how we scale tornadoes, and we have EF0 through EF5.
Oh.
We go EF0, EF1. We consider those to be weak, and the next one, there's only 3 categories. We go weak, EF0, EF1, and then EF2, EF3. We consider those to be strong, and then last but not least, the third category is violent, and that's reserved for the rarer EF4 and EF5 tornadoes, Mark. So, Dino, someone asked,
great question, isn't it?
Yeah, where does that stand? Because you said strong.
So when you hear us say strong, what we're saying is it could be EF2 or high.
Right, and that's that. I just kind of wanted to clarify for those of you who are curious.
I love. That's the beauty of the videos, right? I mean, if we were to say that on TV, we can't get the feedback. So
you just have to, you have to keep going. And
so Austin Lasley is asking me, saying, "Do I think that the SPC should issue an enhanced risk for Effingham to Indy?" In my opinion, yes. I would. I think there's enough evidence to support that area being more rotation, greater hail threat, greater chance of seeing a tornado. So if it's me, I would issue the enhanced there. At the same time, you know, we can't tell you exactly what SPC is going to do. We have enough trouble forecasting the weather. So
yeah. I got a question from Amber. Could the storms in Illinois dip south to us Amber, that's not going to happen because they are actually being generated and being pushed north by the warm front itself. So they'll be making a northbound journey, and there's no chance that they're going to reverse direction and move southbound. So hopefully that will help put you at ease a little bit.
Let's see here. Somebody's asking about Seymour from Pam. So Pam, if you're in Seymour, there is a tornado threat tomorrow afternoon in particular. My opinion is I would watch from 2 to 6, but if you really want me to throw a dart, I'm going to say give or take an hour of 4. I'm going to tell you that right now the data is hinting at a county north of you, but that is close enough, and we can get a tornado. So anything that hooks on that front, anything that gets on that warm front will spin at minimum, and it may be able to tornado. So I would be weather aware. If you're in Jackson, Jennings, and Lawrence County, North Vernon, Seymour, Bedford, I'm going to be weather aware tomorrow. I'm going to be weather aware in the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock time frame. I'm going to make sure I know that if there's a tornado, what am I going to do? In Louisville, you know, is there any harm in being prepared? I don't think there is. But the further north you go, I think there's distinct value in making sure you are prepared.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to mention that. And you know, a lot of great questions coming tonight. You can definitely see this as an engaged audience in here tonight. Rick, somebody's asking about Southeast Kentucky, the beauty of our lives. We can cover anybody, anywhere. Southeast Kentucky, I don't think they're going to see organized severe. I think for a couple of reasons. The fuel's lower. The wind energy does come up late, but the fuel should be really, really tanking at that point, partly because it's getting breezy.
Yeah, they're farther away from the low.
It'll mix out some of those dew points. We see this a lot where the dew points start to drop as it gets breezy. So Southeast Kentucky, first, thanks for coming in and joining us in the live. We can cover everywhere, whereas in TV we have a specific area, but it's a good question. So hopefully that helps you there.
I'm getting seeing a lot of Paolis on here from Peg.
Let's do it.
So let's talk about it. Just want to make sure I shout out everyone's Peg and Hannah also curious about Paoli. So let's talk about Paoli. Paoli, you are very close to the area that we are a little more concerned about. And when I'd rather be safe than sorry, and just tell you that you should be weather aware. You should have ways to get warnings during the afternoon. You know, your phone's a great way to do that. Great tool. But I would say early afternoon into, let's say, post 2 p.m., 3, 4, 5, 6, then that's the time that you should start to be at least alert as to what's happening. Just make sure you have multiple ways to get warnings during that time. And what you don't want to do is put yourself in a situation where you don't have the ability to get that, where, you know, that's kind of the one thing is, if you're out driving around, you know, luckily you have sources there to give you information, but if you kind of go off the grid, it's not a time you want to do that.
Yeah. And this is a great question here from Andrew. You can definitely tell we're in the beginning. We're still in winter. But people have still not fully processed that we're moving towards spring, you know, and I think it's a great question from Andrew. Andrew's saying a lot of people are going to be on the road, you know, in the 3, 4, 5 o'clock time frame. What do you do if you see a tornado and you're driving on the road? It's a great question.
Yeah.
Number one, my opinion, and I think this differs a little bit, you never get out of the car and go under an overpass. That's a big no-no. If you're ever wondering why, the overpass, if you kind of see the way that it works normally, it goes up into a point. So it's like sticking your thumb over the spigot of a faucet. It speeds up the wind. I'll never forget May 3rd, 1999. I was chasing a tornado. I was going through Oklahoma City at the time. I don't know if I've told you this one. So back then, there was an infamous video that comes out from 1991, Andover, Kansas tornado. This tornado, there is a film crew. They are out there and the tornado's catching them. They get out of the vehicle. They go up and they go under the overpass. They videoed the tornado going by. So after that, a lot of people had seen that video and thought that's a safe place for me to go because of that video. May 3rd, 1999 comes along and people get out of the car when the tornado's coming. They go, and Shields Boulevard is the location in Oklahoma City in 35. They get out of the car. They go up under the overpass. They thought they were seeking shelter. It was an EF5. Rick, the horror of this, you could see mud in the shape of human beings where it had blasted so hard. I believe 9 people lost their lives there, and one person it took over a week to find in the debris that was underneath there. So you don't get out and you don't go under an overpass.
Myth debunked.
If you can drive east you drive east. That's my number one. If the tornado's overtaking you and you simply cannot get away, cars are death traps. They just are. There's no other way to put it. So you don't want to be in the car. Some people question, why would I get out of the car, go into a ditch? Well, because you're not going to get lofted out of the ditch. There are distinct threats there. Of course, debris could fly into you, but the car's a death trap. So those, if you can get east and race ahead of it, number one choice. If you just can't do that, you abandon the car and you go into a ditch.
Right. And hopefully the best case scenario is if you are in a car that you can find or locate a sturdy building that's nearby.
Yeah.
Something that's, you know, nice brick building, something that's going to stand it. And usually in those instances, there are already people who have the same thought process and try to seek shelter somewhere. You know, I remember 2012 watching Lawrence Smith. This one comes up all the time.
Yeah.
So just going through and hearing his story, how you were like, Lawrence, you got to get off the road. And
that was so crazy, Rick.
And he did, and he literally chose a gas station on the side of the road as opposed to the other one.
So you guys may remember Lawrence Smith worked with us. Lawrence was a reporter for us. So you know that was like Lawrence's first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
So March 2nd, 2012, Pekin, Henryville, Borden get hit by a tornado. It's an EF4. Obviously, we knew that this was a big deal that day. So we sent Lawrence north. I'm sitting in the weather center after I'd covered, and I threw back to news briefly, and they said, we're going to our reporter in the field. And you kind of know when you're in TV and you're in coverage that's kind of live like that, you never know when your mic's going to be open. So you're always quiet, right? Yeah. So I hear Lawrence say, I am just pulling into Henryville right now. And I interjected on live and I said, hold on a second. I said, Lawrence, you're pulling into Henryville? He's like, yes, I am, Mark. I'm like, Lawrence, the tornado is right over your shoulder. It's just behind you. And you could hear a pause. And he says, I can see it, Mark. And I said, Lawrence, you've got to get yourself in a safe location. So Lawrence this is the road. Get off the highway. Gas station here. Gas station here. Which do you choose? Whichever you choose, right? I mean, You're not thinking.
No.
Lawrence chooses gas station on the right side of the road. Gas station on the left side of the road is wiped clean.
That's a story as I remember too, which I was just in awe. And seeing you tell it and Lawrence tell it, like in the same room, the energy that's exchanged, I was just like awestruck. So yeah, that one always kind of sticks out when I hear people in cars. And Lawrence to this day will always say, "You saved me that day, Mark." You know, it's very, you know.
He's a good friend.
He's always going to be
super humble,
super important in the WDRB family.
So Callista's saying you never answer my questions. Callista, this is your time right now. We're going to answer your question. How's it looking for Eminence, Kentucky? So number one, I think that afternoon wave is probably going to be a little bit further north of you. I'm not saying that you couldn't get a piece of it. I'm just saying I don't know that you have the wind energy to fully take advantage of that, which means then the second line is going to be the main show for you, probably 11 through around 1. It doesn't look like a high level. Maybe some damaging winds, gusty winds. Can't rule out a spin up, but the better tornado threat will be to your north. And for Callista and everybody else, please remember, we can't always get to the questions immediately because they move so fast.
They do.
Don't ever feel bad asking a second time or a third time or a fifth time or a 100th time. We're going to do our best to get to your questions.
So Callista will be looking out for you now in the future. And we can, she even told us how to say it, which I
love that.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I hate butchering people's names.
I know. So, you know, let's go through a couple more questions. I'm not going to go as long tonight. You guys can hear I'm a little bit raspy, and I mean, you guys saw it. Obviously, Rick DeLuca's a little bit sleepy here, so we don't want to go through. What?
I'm wide awake.
Well, I'm just saying, you just looked for a moment like you were struggling a little bit.
I told you it was this voice of yours, all this it just put me to sleep.
We need to pull that screen grab off that and post it because you were starting to yawn and then you realized there was a moment in your mind where you're like, I am live right now.
Yep. Nothing about that is false.
3 questions here, and then we're going to rest my voice and let Rick rest his whole body. So 3 more questions here. I'll let you take first, last, Rick.
All right. I got to finish this shift. Whoa! Again, they go by fast. So,
They do. You almost have to stop
yeah.
sometimes.
So Lori Coy Jacobson is asking about Shepherdsville. On the plus side, Shepherdsville is on the lower end of this risk. It's not across far southern Kentucky, but the more south you go, the less your severe risk.
Agreed.
In Shepherdsville, the warm front could produce some storms. Could be strong possibly during the afternoon, but then watching you as that cold front comes through, that's when we're looking for that damaging wind threat. And that's... Excuse you.
Oh, sorry, man.
We're doing a live over here. I don't know if you noticed.
I was replicating you earlier.
Oh, well, yawns are contagious. I don't think it takes 20 minutes for the next one.
All right, so continue.
Okay,
sorry.
so sorry, Laura. So yeah, so I would say it's a lower end threat for you. We're watching our northwestern counties the closest. You are south of Louisville. I do believe it still includes in the slight.
Yeah, you know, and I think that if you're Shepherdsville, I don't know that afternoon wave can play. I think it's too much subsidence there.
Too much subsidence, and by the time it really starts going, it's too far north.
I'm with you on that. I think you're really your concerns at night.
Right, and so that's why, yeah, more night, and that would be more damaging winds than tornado.
So Meg is asking this one. I'm going to take this one. Meg is saying, Mark, I've got 3 to 6. I've got kids with practice from 3 to 6 in New Albany. So in the 2, 3, 4 o'clock time frame, there could be some stronger thunderstorms. These will be more isolated. If I'm telling you where I think they're more likely, I would say further north of you. But I will say that it does include your area, and the potential that you're on the southern edge. How far south is a challenge right now. We're going to look at the late data. We'll get a new assessment on that. But I would say the severe weather threat for you, it's not 0 in that time, so you should be aware, but it is going to be better at around 10 or 11 o'clock at night. One of our more active videos that we have had in a while, and we've had a lot of our YouTubers on here.
I hate to say it, but that tornado word can, elicit action.
I know, and I want to give a YouTuber a question here, so I'm just going to take one more, and then we'll go to Rick on the last one. So Sean, it says, first, Mark, hope you feel better. So I just will say this. Yes, I sound like a frog. The oddity of it is that I feel completely normal. I've been running around doing the normal things I do, and yet I sound weird. But he wants to know about Valley Station. So Valley Station, the wave, if it does do anything in the afternoon, the likelihood of it being severe in the 2, 3 o'clock time frame is not 0, but I think it's more remote. And I think then we wait to the night. That second line is probably 10, 11 o'clock. Damaging winds would be the primary threat. A small chance of a spin is not out of the realm of possibility, but I think that afternoon wave, whatever hooks on that warm front, has a better chance to tornado.
Yeah, and that warm front is going to be everything when it comes to rotating storms tomorrow. I feel like we're getting a lot of questions, just, random locations. So it's important to know that if you see a location or you live in a location and everyone's talking about something that's nearby you, you kind of have to assume that the conditions are going to be very similar, because we can't differentiate between, let's say, if you live in, I don't know, like PRP and then Valley Station, for example.
Right, but let's even show. I mean, you can see.
Yeah, we'll give one last look here.
So, like, if you're saying, well, Mark, it cuts off at PRP, it doesn't include me in Shepherdsville in the 5%, right? I mean, it's kind of like a snow map. We say this a lot, but we feather. We have to do it. Is there just all of a sudden a dramatically higher chance of a tornado when you get to PRP?
Where's the titles on there? Do they have?
Oh, let me space that. There we go. Good catch. But, if you're in West Point, you're like, well, Mark, I'm only in a 2%, but PRP's in a 5%. Please don't think about it that way. Think about it, you being on the edge. And when you see a snow graphic, don't think about, well, I'm right on the edge of this one and I'm in the 6 to 10, but right to my south is in the 3 to, no. Understand you're on the edge. And I think sometimes we want that exact, but we've got to remember that in the world, Mother Nature doesn't follow lines.
No, and you could end up in either range when that's kind of the way some of this stuff works. We can only resolve so much, and people want to know, is there going to be a tornado at my house at 3 o'clock tomorrow? It's just the weather models don't have that skill. We don't have that ability. I wish we did. Maybe at some point in the future we will get there, but it's just not something that's possible right now.
So I don't know if we actually took a last question, so I'm going to let you take the last question.
I don't think I did. Let's see. Corden.
Some really good ones.
Ty Shay saying Corden, no basement. You can still have a safe place even without a basement. If you're in Corden, go to the center part of your house.
I love that. So true.
And just put many walls as you can between you and the outside environment. A bathroom's a great thing if it's an interior one. try to avoid having any sort of windows. You don't want to be in exterior walls. That gives you the best hope. And I do want to emphasize again, we're not talking about a high scale impact outbreak or anything like that tomorrow. I just think it's been a while since we've had to say the word tornado.
Sure.
And so I think people are, a little extra alert, which I don't mind whatsoever. But it's important to know that we are still just talking about a slight risk, low end, severe weather risk. This is not, one of those high end spring ones that you should be canceling plans and so forth. But it's an awareness that I want you to have, not a worry tomorrow.
And I think that we would also emphasize, if you're in our far northern counties, Seymour, North Vernon, Bedford, very specifically Indy, Bloomington through Effingham, your tornado threat is higher, and we need you to be even more aware. The further south you go, we are telling you that it's not as high, and your awareness level can come down a little bit, but there is no negative to ever being weather aware. There just simply is not.
Absolutely.
So Jay is asking me about the Arby's. If I could do it one more time.
Let's hear it.
Arby's, we've got the beef.
No, we have the meats.
Oh, we have the meat.
Nice.
I mean, this is the beauty.
Arby's is not sponsoring this. There's no curly fries.
But it's great. Some asked where I'm going to be after work tonight. So truth be told, I'm going to be doing karaoke around town. Everybody's been asking if I could do some Barry White tonight.
I'm going to be out around town doing some Barry White tonight. I hope you'll be able to join me.
This is getting weird.
So I'm going to let Rico take a nap in the back office. He almost did in the middle of this video. We're going to rest my voice. I'm actually going to replace water with a little bit of tea. It actually helps with the voice.
Good
you
idea.
and I are both like that. We appreciate you guys joining us. If we need to do a video tomorrow, we will. If we're on TV, we'll obviously be covering it that way. If you don't follow Rick DeLuca, he's a great follow. Please head over to his page right now and let him know, Rick, wake up, buddy. Wake up. You've got to get yourself some tea or some coffee, man. Yawning in the middle of the video. I mean, come on. If you don't follow me, you can always click the follow button, and it'll just alert you when we go live. Thank you guys for joining in here. Thumbs up, hearts across
Have a good
the
night,
screen.
everyone. Hope you have a good night.
And thank you guys for joining us in tonight's live. I'm going to be on WDRB News at 10. This is an important one because we've talked about near the river. There is some inconsistency in the data. I hope we can clear that up with a couple of runs. We'll update you on the timing. We'll update the threats. I'll do that at 10, 10:22, 10:37. If we can keep Rick awake long enough, he'll be doing that at 11 and 11:17. I assure you he won't be yawning in TV. There is a level of more tension.
I'm going to have some tea too.
But isn't it? It's weird in here. It feels more like relaxing in here.
I told you, I'm sticking to my story. I'm blaming your voice. This is not. It's a weird, soothing Barry White.
So thank you guys for joining us in here tonight. I'll see you guys on WDRB News at 10. Mr. DeLuca will see you guys on WDRB News at 11. And that is the end of tonight's Weather Live.